Oh, y'all. It's Romania Black, and we are on the final 4 episodes of season 2 of Kuroko's basketball. I'm kind of insane for watching all 4 together, but I couldn't help it, y'all. When I was planning out this season, I watched the OVA here in season 2 a season too early, and so my choices were either to split this into two-week episode, like 2 episodes over 2 weeks, or to watch all 4 together. And I was like, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to watch those 2 episodes, and I'm going to want to instantly watch the next 2 episodes, and I'm probably not going to wait, so why not just watch them all together? So, oh my God. I'm like, oh man, I don't know what to expect. I'm kind of waiting down to the last minute because I'm not going to lie. I started getting a sore throat this morning. I was like, no, not again. So I'm going to get this recorded and probably go ahead and do the specials and the bloopers for next week and go ahead and do them while my throat is capable before something happens. I'm like, why? Why now? So I do have some comments I want to talk about before we start these episodes. It's going to be a long reaction. I'm ready to take notes. I'm excited. This is the Yosen game. You know the season's going to end with the Yosen game ending. If they don't end with this game ending, if they honestly end this on a cliffhanger and make us wait till season 3 to find out what happens, I may lose my lunch. I may be like, are you freaking kidding me? Because after this set of episodes, next week I'm going to be looking at the bloopers for season 2 as well as the special that came out, kind of like what I did with season 1. And apparently there's 6 audio dramas for season 2 that Truck has so graciously translated. And so I'm at least going to watch one of those next week along with the bloopers and the special to kind of, make part 1 of our specials of season 2. And then the following week I'll be watching the other 5 audio dramas all together. So that'll be fun. And then the following week we have the character songs for season 2 because luckily I don't think there's 60 character songs like there were for season 1, but there's gonna be a lot. So I'm gonna look at that, and then we'll start season 3 because I am dedicated to looking at as much media for Kuroko's No Basket as I can because I love it that much. I think at this point, I'll talk about it at the end of these episodes, but Ace of the Diamond is still my favorite sports anime, bar none. But I do believe that I would say, I'm wearing a slam dunk shirt because I've had this for a while, but I believe Kuroko's has taken the spot of second favorite sports anime. I think it has. It's just so bonkers and so wonderful and wholesome, and the shipping, it's giving me all that I want. It just doesn't have the depth that Ace of the Diamond does. Ace of the Diamond is a deep series, and Kuroko's is great, but doesn't have the depth of Ace of the Diamond. So it's right up there, though. Right up there. But yeah, let's get to these comments before we start. Arjo talked about that there's a series called Kuroko no Basket Replace Plus, which is like a slice of life series that one of the mangaka's assistants has created. It kind of reminds me, there's Ace of the Diamond C, which his wife, Terajima's wife, illustrates. And it's like the Ace of the Diamond characters with cats. So, because why not? So that's what it kind of reminded me of. I do eventually want to, on my own time, read the manga for Kuroko's basketball and maybe do a video about it, like talking about how it's different, maybe if there's stuff that's extra in the manga that's not in the anime. Do something like that on my own time, probably this summer. But it would be interesting to go back and look at the Replace Plus series. That would be kind of fun. I like the idea of that. Kelsey talks about, does Murasaki Bara really practice that much? Or is Himuro describing him with purple tinted glasses? And I was like, ooh. Because at the time when we were talking about it in the comments, I was like, well, yeah, Murasaki Bara practices a lot. That's what Himuro said. Oh. So is Himuro talking Murasaki Bara up? Or does he really practice that much? Or do the members of Yosen really just not practice and he's great by comparison? Don't know. Larissa Mitty says there is apparently, and I did not look this up because I was so afraid of being spoiled, but I'm so tempted. So if anybody in the Discord is watching, this was a YouTube comment. If any of y'all are watching in the Discord, please feel free to find this and share this with me because I want to see it. But apparently there is a What If series of merchandise. It's kind of like Free. In the Free anime, there was like in season 2's ED, it showed them all in different professions. Like it showed Makoto as a firefighter and Rin as a police officer. Well, apparently they did a What If series of what the characters could be doing post high school, and I was like, oh, that's cool. We talked about Kagami being a therapist, but apparently the series has him as a firefighter, and I'm like, that makes sense too, because Kagami puts out a lot of fires in this series. I was like, makes sense. It has Aomine as a police officer. I was like, the only one who can beat the law is me. I was like, yes. I just imagine Aomine would be a scary police officer. He would like, the crime would clear up instantly because people would be like, oh, hell no, not messing with him. Nope. Kuroko is a kindergarten teacher, and I'm like, although I could picture kindergartners being freaked out if like, they're like, where's our teacher? And Kuroko's like, I've been here the whole time. Or like a sub comes in and is like, I'm here to sub this class. And Kuroko's like, I don't need a sub, I've been here. I want Kuroko in like a little cardigan, like looking like Sugawara off of Haikyuu, being a kindergarten teacher. I need this in my life, right? I need it. And then he brings Kagami and Aomine in for like career day and makes them both stand up next to him and be like, you could be a firefighter or a police officer. He brings in the whole generation of miracles, with the exception of Akashi. We'll talk about why in a minute. To like go off on career day, being like, look kids, here's what you can be, right? Midorima is a doctor in this What If series. Very fitting. I could just, although Midorima's bedside manner, can you imagine that? Midorima's like, yeah, no, you have a cold. And they're like, well, I don't really, no, you have a cold. Like, you can't argue with Midorima. And then he just has like a lucky item on the shelf and the patient's like, what's that? And he's like, it's to make sure that you're fine today. It's like, Midorima would actually be a terrifying doctor. So I don't know how I feel about that, but he's smart enough to be one. So there is that. Kisei is a pilot. I'm getting all the Top Gun vibes. Kisei's like got the pilot gear and he's like, I got the need for speed. And then Aomine's like, goose. That would be amazing. I would love to see Kisei as a pilot. And then Murasaki Bara's is probably the most fitting. He is a patisserie chef. A patissier. I was like, as a patisserie chef, that would be amazing. I could just picture Murasaki Bara with the hat and the apron, like serving up chocolates and everything, eating his own food. That would be really cute. But the reason why I said Akashi would not be invited to Kuroko's kindergarten career day is because apparently in the What If scenario, he's an heir. So I guess his family's wealthy, which silver spoon in his mouth makes sense. I see that. I could see where I'm sure maybe the Akashi storyline is he's like, I've always grown up having to be perfect and never been able to lose. And I'm like, cry me a river. First world problems. But that's just a guess. We won't find out about Akashi, I'm sure, until season 3. So save your comments for then. But I do like the idea of all these characters having these what if careers. That's really cute. So thank you, Larissa. I love that comment, and hopefully people in the Discord can find those and share them with me because I'd really like to see what they're about. Green moth applesauce, or moth green applesauce, called Alex a wine ant. Like, that's a great comparison. I do love Alex's character. And then we were talking in the comments about how did she end up in Kagami's apartment without him knowing? Because Kagami seems surprised that she's there. So how'd she end up in there? And my theory was either I don't even know if Kagami told her where the key was, because we don't know if she's visited before. But my theory is either one, he told her where the key was and when she arrived, let her in. Okay. But that doesn't seem to be the case. It's either that or two, she figured out where his key was. Kagami's like a 17-year-old boy. I don't think he was very creative in hiding where his key is. Like, she just looked under the mat and was like, okay, here we go. And does that. Or, you know, she could have asked the dad. She could have asked the dad for the passcode. She could have called the dad up and been like, hey, I'm staying with your son. What's the passcode? And him been like, oh, okay, here it is. Or three, Kagami didn't lock the door. He was just like, eh. He's just so trusting, right? I think it's either she figured out where the key was and let herself in, or she called up his dad and was like, where's the key? And he's like, oh, it's here. And she got in. That's my theory. But a good question to note. And then Anime Annie talked about Yosen's heights and their star signs. So I'm like, Murasaki Bara is 6'10", which is insane. And he's a Libra. A Libra. Interesting. Kind of a balance there. That's curious. A Libra. My dad's a Libra, so that's funny. Himuro is a Scorpio. Of course Himuro is a Scorpio. He reads just like a Scorpio. He is a classic. You look at Miyuki from Ace of the Diamond. You look at Tadashi from Skate the Infinity. You look at, you look at Shizuki from Given. Classic Scorpio, Himuro. Fits him great, but he's 6 foot. He's one of the shortest of Yosens. Okamura, the big guy, is 6'7", which is crazy. He's a Virgo. Makes sense there. Liu is 6'8", Insanity, and he's a Cancer. Fukui is 5'9", is a Gemini, and then the coach Araki is 5'7", so I'm 5'8", so she's about my height, and then is a Capricorn. So funny that's so crazy, right? There's like 3 guys on the team that are above 6'7". That's nuts. So I like the idea Kagami said in the last episode that it seems like some of the players like Okamura were centers, kind of like Matobe and Tepe, and were able to like be versatile in other roles as well. We'll see. But then also Anime Annie pointed out, we talked about the eye disease that Alex could have that would keep her from playing, because I was like, why doesn't she just play with contacts? And Anime Annie said, well, what if she has glaucoma? And I was like, oh God. I was like, my grandmother and my aunt had glaucoma, but I thought usually it was something that would develop when you're older. So maybe it is, because yeah, if you have glaucoma, then contacts wouldn't work. So maybe it's early onset. I'm not sure. But yeah, I really appreciate those comments. I thought that was really cool. I really have been loving this season so far. This season's better than the first season, and I'm like, where do we go from here? But we've got to finish this game, y'all. 4 episodes. I'm like, I've set aside this morning. I had a day off of work because of scheduling, and I was like, I'm going to watch a lot of Kuroko's basketball today. And of course, my throat starts hurting, so I'm like chugging juice, but I'm not going to let that stop me. No. No, sir. Nope. So I'm ready, y'all. I'm excited. I hope y'all are too, but we've wasted enough time. We are going to start Kuroko's basketball episodes 47, 48, 49, and 50. Episodes 22 through 25. And we are going to start that here, y'all, in 3, 2, 1, and let's do this. Oh my God. That was 4 insane episodes, and I'm really glad that I watched them all together. I really am, because I had 3 ways I wanted to do it, right? I either wanted to split it all. I either wanted to react to all of it together in one set, or I wanted to do 2 episodes and 2 episodes, which I'm real glad I didn't do that. Or my other option I was thinking about is doing like 3 episodes and then next week doing the season finale along with the specials and the bloopers. Glad I didn't do that either. These 4, I feel like this entire game, these 4 episodes really need to be watched together because they all threaded together. And I brought Whiteboard Kun out because I have a feeling we're going to need Whiteboard Kun at some point in this discussion because I took lots of notes. Man, there's so much. What is so cool about this series is that the Generation of Miracles and Kagami, by extension, they all kind of have interwoven things and traits about them that are kind of similar and different, that all kind of mix and match together, which is really cool. But they're all so dynamic. They can be their own individual characters, but then they all thread together really nicely. And there's lots of comparisons and contrasting in this series. And I want to talk about the end credit scenes and the end cards. God, the end cards may be my favorite out of all the end cards so far. There's a couple of them that I'm like, ooh, I really like those. But man, I talk about a nail biter. Again, this series, it just has that capacity to make you question up until the last 2 minutes of the game, are they going to win or not? Because I'll be honest, at the end of episode 50, when Murasaki Bara was starting to get in the zone, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I thought he was going to come back. I thought that somehow he was going to get fouled or they were going to tighten up the game or they were going to win. I thought Yosen was going to win for a hot second. I was like, oh no. And they just got lucky. They just got lucky that Murasaki Bara reached his limits before fully tapping into the zone. And Kuroko being the one to take the ball from Murasaki Bara is like that symbolism is just smacking him right in the face. And that in shot of him crying. Oh, we'll talk about episode 50. Oh my God, we'll talk about episode 50. But oh my God, there was so much in these episodes. So much. I was just sitting there taking notes in between episodes going, this discussion's going to be a while. So I'm glad I took this day off of work. I'm glad I had this day off to be like, all right, let's do this. And I've still got audio dramas and other stuff to watch today. I'm like, dang it. I still got all that to do. It's going to be a lot of Kuroko's basketball today. But that's not a bad thing. Not when the series is this good. But man, lots of things didn't go the way I expected them to. And I'm kind of glad the way that they worked out, but we'll talk about that as we go. So the whole thing about Homuro and the brother thing, our poor insecure jealous boy, we'll talk about Homuro later on, but him not wanting to be brothers anymore. He thinks that Alex doesn't take him seriously, that Alex maybe favors Kagami, he says that Kagami's not taking him seriously, he's looking down upon him, and he wants to be able to fight alongside Kagami. And it's not even the fact that he wants to beat Kagami, obviously, they're rivals, but he wants Kagami to take him seriously and to fight him with everything he has. And right now he feels like Kagami's not giving him everything, which is so interesting. So let's just go ahead and bring up the idea, and I'm going to move this a little forward here. The idea that Homuro wants Kagami to be proper rivals and give him everything that he can, right? That's what he wants. It's almost, in some ways, we'll kind of map this over and connect it to Aomine, because Aomine and Kuroko will kind of connect that to that whole relationship, right? Which it's kind of, in a way, is what it feels like. Homuro and Kagami's relationship feels a little bit like Aomine and Kuroko's relationship, right? The thing about it is that Homuro wants Kagami to take him seriously. And Kagami, the funny contrast in the situation is that Kagami, because they are brothers, Homuro doesn't feel that Kagami will ever play him properly because there's always going to be that emotional barrier keeping them from playing at their all against one another. And the way that Homuro feels about Kagami is kind of the way that Kuroko has felt about Aomine. Kuroko wants Aomine, like Aomine was talking about quitting, right? And not playing the game. But whereas Kagami comes from this sense from an angle of love, Aomine comes at this from an angle of apathy. Like he's just apathetic that nobody's challenging him like he should be. So he's like, I'll just skip games. I'm not going to play against people because it's not worth it. And Kuroko's like, no. He's like, I want you to play me and play your rivals at your full strength because that's not fair to the people trying. And the way that Kuroko feels is kind of the way that Homuro feels. He's like, Homuro wants Kagami to face him as a rival, and Kuroko wants Aomine to face anybody he comes up against as a threat. So it's kind of cool to see Homuro and Kuroko kind of connected in how they feel. I do think Kuroko's a prodigy, though. I think he's just like doesn't realize he's a secret prodigy. Whereas we find out Homuro, and we'll touch base on it, is not a prodigy. And so we'll cut back on that. But yeah, the thing that reminded me of, and I wanted to talk about it in the reaction, but there was just not any time, is that he wants to be Kagami at his strongest, is that there's another sports anime called Tsurune out there. It's more slice of life than sports anime, but it uses Kyudo, which is archery, as kind of a basis of a foundation. So it's amazing. I highly recommend Tsurune. It's the polar opposite of this. This is like high energy all the time. Tsurune is like serene and zen, but it's deep and beautiful. So I highly recommend Tsurune. If you need something to chill with after watching this, Tsurune is the thing to go to. But there are two cousins in that series, without spoiling anything, there are two cousins that have like a whole dilemma about wanting to protect one another while also being rivals. And for them, there's a barrier there that's literally them being blood. They're literally family. So that makes it hard for them to be rivals because they're constantly watching each other's back. And they have to come to terms with that. That's sort of what is happening with Himuro and Kagami, except they're not blood brothers, but they're brothers at heart, right? And so they're facing kind of the same dilemma. I think at this point, Tsurune does it better. They handle the situation a lot better. But at the end of episode 50, Kagami's not done. Kuroko gives him the necklace back and he runs off with it, I'm assuming to go find Himuro and make up. And hopefully we'll see that in season 3. We'll see that makeup moment. We'll see. But I feel like that ends up happening, right? Or maybe in the special, we'll see it. I don't know. I feel like it cut off there and I was like, we, the audience, know that Kagami is going to make up with Himuro and they're going to like have a talk. And I'm guessing in season 3, maybe we'll get that. So Kagami did not do his trump card that Alex taught him until the very end, the meteor slam dunk, the meteor jam. Welcome to the jam. Like that was just like, that's his special move that Alex taught him, the free throw line slam dunk, right? The falling star. And he did use it to the very end, so we didn't fully get to see it proper. Which I kind of like. I kind of like that Kagami has more tricks up his sleeve. There's stuff we can use against Akashi's team in the final season, right? I feel like that's all going to come up, right? So that's interesting. But the one thing that I didn't see in this last 4 set of episodes that I wanted to see was Kagami and Himuro talking. And Kuroko gets mad at Kagami because he's like, you know you need to talk to him. You know you need to patch things up. Get over there and get to work. Like that is a nagging boyfriend being like, you and your friend need to make up. Go on, go do it. I'll stand over here and wait on you. I cannot ship Kagami and Kuroko more. They're an OTP for me at this point. I'll do an OT3 with them and Almine. I'll give you all that. I'll do that. But Kagami and Kuroko, they have my heart, right? I don't care if they're the most basic of all the ships. It's like, it's solid, y'all. It's solid. But here's the thing. Murasaki Bara, we'll talk about him. He is kind of fascinating. He's kind of fascinating, right? So Himuro, interestingly enough, we talk about this. Murasaki Bara says, either way, win or lose, you're not my brother. And so, okay, going back to that, Murasaki Bara kind of calls Himuro out in the locker room. He's like, so yeah, what's this about a promise? He's like, it's not really a bet, it's a promise. He's like, whether you win or lose, you all aren't going to be brothers by the end of it. So it's not really a bet. Technically nobody's winning if you both aren't brothers anymore, right? So he's like, what's the deal? And then we find out that Himuro, oddly enough, which kind of fits, Kagami is very much like Almine. Himuro is the opposite. Which I think that's really freaking cool. I never thought of it that way, but I love the idea that Himuro is very by the book. He is textbook. And that makes sense. He's not a prodigy. He can't go outside the box. So instead what he does is he perfects all those basics to the point where they're so smooth and elegant that you just have to appreciate it, right? Almine is like, shatter the box, we don't need it. And then Himuro's like, no, I'm going to fit perfectly within this box to where it's seamless. I kind of love that. I love the dynamic of them being polar opposites and them both being challenges in their own way. And again, it makes sense if Kagami is much like Almine, then Himuro being the opposite, it works out totally, right? But his structure is perfect. And I said back in episode 22, he's not a prodigy, but he's a hard worker. And then Almine kind of confirms that at the end of the season, right? I love Himuro's face when he's like, I want you to fight me and try to kill me. He's like, take me seriously. I was like, it's perfect that Jean and Chuya's voice actor is the voice actor for Himuro. He does such a good job in these episodes, and especially when he's crying to Murasaki Bara, it's so perfect. It's weird, he calls him Atsushi the whole time, and I can't call Murasaki Bara Atsushi because that makes me think of Bungo Stray Dogs, and I'm already doing enough with Himuro and Chuya, so can't do that, right? But yeah, and then Teppei. Man, Teppei is so kind, but that kindness can kill when he's like, well, don't you love basketball? Like what a trigger for Murray Bara. And we need to talk about this. So let's go ahead and get out Tepe. So Tepe's whole deal, Tepe just getting under the skin with Murray Bara. We'll put him right here. Because he's like, don't you love basketball? And here's the thing. I think at first he didn't, but he's come to realize he does love it, but he doesn't want to admit that he loves it because that would mean, you know, Murray Bara is surprising in two ways. One, he is a total tsundere. He's like just as much of a tsundere as Midorima is. And I'm like, really? Because he's like, I don't want your tears. You're gross. I was like, you love it and you know it. He's just like Midorima in that respect. I'm like, oh my God. Almine is not like Midorima. Almine is very straightforward. Almine is not tsundere. He's just kind of like, there is a difference there. I feel like he's like Midorima, Murray Bara, isn't it? He's kind of tsundere. And he's like, no, I don't love it, but I kind of do. Right? But not only that, he is a bully. He's a straight up bully. I'm like, how dare, sir? How dare? How dare? I guess if I'm ranking the Generation of Miracles, if I'm ranking them right now, Akashi's at the bottom. And here's my thing. Akashi's at the bottom not only because of the first impression, but we know the least about him. I'm like, we know the least about Murray. We know the least about Akashi. He's my number 5 for me, right? Or my number 6. If we're going to count Kagami in there, he's my number 6. I'm not counting Takao in the Generation of Miracles, even though he's our honorary orange skittle because he's not gotten in the zone. I'm going to count potential zone people. Do I think Akashi can get in the zone? Hell yes, of course I do. He probably can automatically do it. I'm just waiting for that to happen in season 3. He's like, oh, well, you think you have to get into the zone by not thinking about it. I'm so good I can get into the zone whenever I want to. I'm waiting for that bitch to do that. I'm like, are you gonna? Okay. When he does it, I'm just gonna be like, I'm just waiting for him to be like, I can automatically get in the zone whenever I want to. That's what I'm waiting on. But we'll talk about Akashi later in this. Because I have some things I want to say about him. Even though we only barely saw him. I've got some theories about him. We're going to wait until the end of the episode to talk about it though. But he's my number 6. My number 5, honestly, I'm kind of my 5 and 4 are like, Because here's my problem. I love Kisei to pieces. He's so fun, but he is the second least person we know about at this point. We don't know a lot about Kisei, and we learned a lot through his game with Almine, but I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something big with Kisei that will make me like him more, and I want to like him more. So I'm torn. I guess I would put Murray Bara as my number 5. I liked getting the depth of character with him, and I liked Himuro and him realizing their love for each other by the end of episode 49. But he's a bully, and I don't like characters that are bullies. Akashi is a bully. I don't like characters like that. Midorima is just a snob. He's not a bully. He's just a snob. And I can deal with that. But Murray Bara and Akashi are kind of bullies. I don't like characters like that. So I would have to put Murray Bara as my 5th. But I do like his character. I like what we get about him. I just don't like that he's a bully up until the very end. But damn it, he's really good looking. They make him look so good in this set. They make him look so good. And I liked him in episode 50. I think episode 50 is when I really started to actually like Murray Bara. And I was like, okay, I see potential with his character. And we'll talk more about it when we get to episode 50. But I would rank him as my 5. Kisei would be my 4. Midorima and Almine are close as my 3 and 2. Kagami's my number 1. I know he's not really a Generation of Miracles. He's my number 1. I guess, well, we have 7 if Kuroko's thrown in there. I would say it goes Kagami, Kuroko. Those are my 2 favorites of the Generation of Miracles. Kagami and then Kuroko. I guess, God, it's so hard. Almine and Midorima right now, I'm going to tie them for 3rd. I love Almine for reasons. I love Midorima for reasons, but they're very opposite reasons. I guess Midorima would maybe slide into my 3rd spot out of pure quirkiness with the lucky items. That's the only reason. And Almine would be right there. If I'm following my heart, I would say Kagami, Kuroko, Midorima, Almine, Kisei, Murray Bara, and Akashi. But I will give this, that there's a lot of closeness in that area, and so we'll maybe see how that works later on. But I liked Murray Sakibara in episode 50. We'll talk more about it, but he's kind of a bully in this episode. And I'm like, dude, Murray Sakibara and Hamuro, they are very much like, if we're talking about them as a ship, they're so similar to Kagami and Kuroko in terms of them like literally slapping the love into one another. They're so similar, but here's the thing. Kagami and Kuroko, they communicate so well with each other. And Hamuro and Murray Sakibara, it's more of like an instinctual thing. They don't communicate the best, but it's almost like on instinct. So I feel like these two pairs are similar. It felt like we had in the last game with Toho, we had Kuroko leaving Aomine to go get with Kagami. And in this game, it feels like Hamuro is similar to Kuroko. He's leaving Kagami to go be with Murray Sakibara. So why not? Why not? So yeah, but here's the thing. Teppei's like, don't you love basketball? And Murray Sakibara talks about that basketball is a cruel sport. And it is cruel. He talks about how rewards are not always for those who work hard. He's like, you can work hard, but you don't get rewarded. And Teppei's like, yeah, that's true, but if you work hard, you will be rewarded at some point. And that just makes Murray Sakibara really mad. So, and what's interesting is, what I wish that this set would have done, and maybe we'll touch on it in season 3, maybe, but what I wish this set would have done is tap into the idea that Teppei has literally given his all. He has had all these injuries, and he literally is sacrificing his body for a sport that he knows he can't do on his own and that he may lose in, right? And I think that makes Murray Sakibara even more mad, because he's like, you mean you're still playing this game even after you know you're going to lose? Like, what's the point in that? What are you doing? And I feel like he doesn't understand Teppei's philosophy, and it just frustrates him even more. But there's more to it than that, too. That I like that Aomine notices that Teppei gets under Murray Sakibara's skin. He's like, I don't know what they were talking about, but he really didn't like that. And I like that Aomine kind of realizes in that moment that Teppei, he's like, man, he seems like a nice guy, but he's a lot tougher on the surface than he lets on. And it's like, yes. Teppei's whole thing about being a three-point shooter, I like the idea that they kind of doubt him because he's a center, that he'd be a good shot. And he kind of shows him up because he's been a point guard in the past. I like the idea that it was creating that seed of doubt, right? It was creating that seed of doubt. And here's the thing. One thing I do regret about this game in general is Araki doesn't really have much to do, the coach for Yosen. I was really hoping we'd see more with her, but I get why the mangaka doesn't go that way. Because if we made her too strategic, she'd be too much like Momoi. And Momoi is very much her own individual. So I could see why the mangaka didn't want the coach to be too much like Momoi. But they really only are there to hit Murray Sakibara with the damn bamboo sword. And that's pretty much it, right? And so she doesn't have much else to do. So I wish that we'd gotten more strategy with her. But I feel like it is to Yosen's detriment. It really highlights for me how important Momoi is for Toho. Like, she is so detrimental to them, because she could have told them, like, when they started doing the three-point shot and stuff, if Yosen had had the same kind of information that Momoi probably had, she probably would have been like, oh yeah, Teppei, of course. He's probably practiced on three-point shooting because they knew that they would need him as a center. She probably could have predicted that, and that would have altered their course of action. But Momoi not being there, and Araki not being this type of coach as Momoi, it just, you can definitely appreciate Momoi with Toho more because of what she could have done in that situation that Yosen just isn't prepared for, right? And so they throw those threes in the mix just to create doubt. And Teppei's not a fake person. So that's the thing, you know, they think, oh, well, has Teppei been practicing threes? And so that's why he's really good. The reality is Teppei was just like, I just need to make this one shot and that'll fake him out. But the other team thinks, because Teppei's so genuine, that, oh, this must mean he's been practicing a long time, and they don't see the fake out happening. And then Kagami asking Kuroko to throw the ring away. I knew Kuroko wasn't going to throw that ring away. I was like, there's no way. Kuroko's not that type of guy. And I like how he gets mad at Kagami at the end, being like, really? You thought I was going to throw this away? And that's so true. Kuroko saying, like, the fact you wanted me to throw it away means that you didn't really want me to throw it away because you couldn't do it yourself. So who you fooling, right? And then when he gives it back to him. I love, though, again, y'all, we can ship whoever we want to. I have some crazy ships in this series. You have some crazy ships in this series. There's over 1,000 fan fictions about Akashi and our boy Fuji. Or Fua, whatever. We all have crazy ships, but cementing the love triangle of Kagami and Kuroko, or rather my OTP, it's become an OTP at this point. If you tell me it's an OT3 without Mine, I'm here with you. But the moment that Kagami says, Tatsuya is with my past, but you're my future, I'm like, what? Like, you might as well have just said, Romania Black, here's your permanent membership for the Kagakuro ship. Happy sailings. And just let me on the boat and let me sail away, because that was it, right? He's like, my future's with you, and I know that it's obvious what's more important. And I'm like, and Kuroko's like, yes, I accept this ship. I accept your ring, sir. We'll get married next year after the Winter Cup. I'm like, oh my God. It's amazing. And at that point, what's interesting to note is that at that point, Kagami calls Hamuro for the rest of the game. He never calls him Tatsuya again. He commits. Kagami is very genuine. If he says, I'm going to let you go, I'm going to let you go. The funny thing is Hamuro has not been genuine. Hamuro, he says Kagami out loud, but in his head, right up until the end when he says it out loud, right up until the end, he says in his head, Taiga. So even though Hamuro's like, oh, we're going to stop being brothers. I don't want to be brothers with you anymore. That's a bunch of bullshit, because he's still calling him Taiga. He's still calling him by that familiar name. He's not sold himself on that idea. He's just telling himself that to try to make himself stronger. And it's like, and you can just see right through it, right? And so Kuroko assures the others that Kagami is unstoppable at this point. He's like, if Kagami can let go, he's going to be unstoppable. And he tries to dunk on Murasaki Bara. He's knocked down, but it did seem like he was testing something, which now we know. I wrote my notes. It seems like he was testing something. It was the Meteor Jam that came back in episode 50. So good foreshadowing, show. Good foreshadowing. I was surprised there wasn't a foul there, but we'll let it go. And then, honestly, the one thing that wasn't really utilized in this that I thought was going to be was the sweat on the floor. That Kagami slips, and he notes that. He's like, oh yeah, the sweat. And I'm like, is he going to use that later? But he doesn't. So that's really curious. Slam Dunk, the other basketball series I've watched, has brought up sweat on the court floor before. And that is a legit threat. Like, your feet slide, everybody gets sweaty, the floor gets wet, you start slipping and sliding all the way around. And in a sport where running is your primary thing, that can be dangerous. So I really thought they would do something with that, but they don't. But they don't. So that's curious. I'm wondering, it seems like there's a lot of setup in these episodes for season 3. I am wondering if they are going to set up the sweat on the floor for season 3 and that be a thing. Let's put over here, we're going to put over here season 3 foreshadowing. All right. And then here we have the sweat on the floor. And the fact that we didn't do anything with it now makes me think that we're going to do something with it later. So we'll probably come back to that at some point, right? And so then the triple teaming Teppei being wore out. You could tell in this episode, like in episode 22, you could tell Teppei was just exhausted. He was like, I am done. He was like, I can't do this. He's getting wore out. And then they're down by 7 with 3 minutes left. With they're in the third quarter with 3 minutes left, down by 7. And Murasaki Bara, him getting like, I thought at the end of episode 22 he was getting in the zone because he starts glowing and he gets all like Super Saiyan. He has the purple hair like Trunks from Dragon Ball Z, so he starts like going Super Saiyan. No, he was just pissed. But maybe it was foreshadowing he's about to be in the zone now that we know what we know from episode 50. So, Momoi has no data on Hamuro. I thought that was interesting because, yeah, he just came back from America and joined the team. They've not faced him yet. So, that's something kind of cool for next season. It'd be cool if they had continued the manga and stuff. Like I said, I think this current year in the series as far as the show is going. But it's kind of cool to think about if you're like what if scenarios when Toho faces Yosen later on. That'd be kind of cool to see like Momoe not having any data on Hamuro and what do we do with it, even though Aomine doesn't seem worried about Hamuro by the end of this. But Murasaki Bara being pissed and wanting to shut them up and like wipe the floor with them. And I like that Coach Araki's like, okay, we can work with this. This works to our advantage. You've awoken the monster. We can work with this. But him breaking the hoop, I'm just like, oh my god. It was like such a extension of what Kagami did back during Kisei's game with him breaking the hoop. And Teppei, going back to the idea of Teppei feeling the pain of not being able to be the reliable person. Because yeah, Teppei does strike me as a character that likes for people to rely upon him. He likes to protect people, and him not being able to do that against that game against Teiko. So here's my thing. In episode 23, I've got my notes. We start getting on this. Murasaki Bara, I think that he has come to love basketball. And I feel like Hamuro kind of tips him over on the edge into realizing that because, you know, ship things, ship goals. But what's interesting is Teppei talks about how basketball, it helped him feel accepted. Because he kind of talks about, like, he has, like, insecurities about his body. He's like, I'm this big hulking guy who didn't think he fit in. I felt awkward. And basketball helped me to realize I had a place in this world. And I'm like, oh, shit, that's really deep, Teppei. And so Murasaki Bara kind of, like, mocks that love of the sport. That, you know, he's like, why do you love a sport that causes you pain? Why do you love something that injures you? Why do you love something that's keeping you from living your full life? Like, what's wrong with you, sort of thing. But honestly, I feel like from episode 23 that maybe Murasaki Bara has these same insecurities about his own body, right? Because what it sounds like is that he's kind of maybe even more self-aware than Aomine was. And what I mean by that is about being used for what he is, right? He's being used for his height and strength. What I mean is, and I'm going to go back a little bit to Akashi here, and we're going to bring him up throughout this, is that obviously Murasaki Bara, he's 6'10". He's a huge guy. He's obviously going to be an asset regardless of if he's strong or not, just based on his height alone. But I feel like both Aomine and Murasaki Bara have been used for their skills and had it pushed to their limits, even though it's been mentally taxing on them. I felt in episode 23, like, or episode 43 rather, or yeah, episode 23 of season 2, which is technically episode 48. I felt like Murasaki Bara has been mentally pushed to his limits because he's this big, tall guy, but all he's been known for in basketball is the big, tall guy. And he's just like, he feels the pressure of needing to be strong to not lose, but he doesn't care about the sport, but he's been forced to play this sport. That's the thing too. Why didn't he just quit? He doesn't quit because he likes it, right? He hasn't quit basketball yet because he does like it, but he doesn't want to admit he likes it because then he's kind of forced himself into a loop, sort of like Aomine. Aomine loves basketball, so he doesn't want to quit, but he doesn't want to play because he can't find anybody strong enough to face him, so he just feels like he's in a rut, and it's caused this depression with him. Murasaki Bara, he does love basketball, otherwise he would have quit. But I think he hates the idea that he has to constantly be relied upon. And so it just gets to the point where he's like, fine, I'll do this so that we won't lose because I like the sport, but I hate being the one that has to save the day and do all of this, right? Aomine wants a rival, which is what he gets through Kagami. Murasaki Bara, I don't think he wants a rival, but I think he just doesn't see the point anymore. He's just kind of apathetic about it all. Similar to Aomine. But yeah, he just seems like maybe he has his own insecurities about his height and his body. And that's kind of tied in with Teppei too. It's interesting, but he doesn't want to admit that he's come to like it, which is kind of, honestly, the opposite of Kisei. We'll put Kisei over here. It's kind of the opposite of Kisei. Kisei, he didn't have a place. He didn't have a place. And so his apathy turned into his love for basketball because he felt like he found a calling, right? He found something he could be successful in that he appreciated. And he loves it, right? He came to love basketball for it, you know, worming its way into his heart. Murray Sakibara almost seems resentful that it's wormed a place into his heart because it's like, well, I didn't want to admit. It's almost like he wanted to, like, out of spite, prove people wrong, but then it didn't work. And so now he's just, like, stuck in this limbo. It's interesting. But he only did it for the place, but he hates it for all that he's seen it for. It's such a fascinating dynamic with Murray Sakibara. And I like his character because he's kind of, you know, layered like this. He's kind of layered like Tepe and Almine, but he handles it from a very different perspective and a different means. So I like that. I like that about Murray Sakibara. When he's not being a bully, I like his character a lot. And so Kyoshi getting picked up. That whole thing, whenever the hand came out to pick Kyoshi up off the ground, I was like, I bet that's going to be Murray Sakibara, because it would be an opposite twist. You know, Almine would never pick somebody up off the ground. Almine literally lifts you off the ground to show his strength, right? To show off. And that was such a tense scene. Oh my God. And very much the opposite of Almine. And so then we have that flashback between Murray Sakibara and Kuroko. And what I like about these two, Kuroko and Murray Sakibara, is that off the court, they're friends. I feel like off the court, they can be friends. But on the court, they are philosophically different. To the point where it's like animosity. They have totally different ideologies about the sport, totally different views about the game. Off the court, they're friends. On the court, they're like, I can't stand the way that you view this sport. And it's so interesting, right? That, because Kuroko's like, I am not one of the ones that strength comes easily to. He's like, I have to work my ass off all the time. And it usually doesn't give me any rewards. You don't have to hardly try at all. And you, like Almine, you two don't have to try hardly at all. And you guys are just great at it. But the thing about it is Almine, again, how they're different is Almine, I don't feel like he would ever tell a character to quit the sport. Like, we go back to that OVA where him and Kuroko was about to quit. And Almine is like, no, don't give up. Like, come on, keep playing. If you like the sport, keep doing it. Like, that Almine is encouraging, like Kagami. But Murray Sakibara is the opposite. He's like, if you're not good, get out. We don't need you. If you're not going to commit and you don't think you can do it, why are you here? So it's kind of the polar opposite, right? And Kuroko hates that. He doesn't get why Kuroko keeps going if he's not strong enough. And I like that Kisei asks Almine, he's like, well, who do you think is right? Do you think Murray Sakibara is right? If you're not strong, you should just give up. Or do you think Kuroko's right, where it's not about strength, but about teamwork and love and all this? And Almine can't really answer because he's kind of a combination of the two of them. He loves basketball like Kuroko does, but he's naturally talented like Murray Sakibara, and he gets wanting to only play against strong people and not those that are weak. So Almine is like, I'm not really the person to answer this question because I'm not the right audience for this. He's like, I'm kind of torn in between, right? It's not exactly a good fit for me to answer. And so I love that Kuroko and Murray Sakibara off the court, they can get along, but fundamentally on the court, they're totally different, right? And so Murray Sakibara kind of like chides Kuroko, being like, oh, you need help to face me. And Kuroko's like, yes, we're a team. That's kind of the point. So yes, if Kagami has to help me face you, fine, I will. And then I loved Kuroko drawing out that foul where at first, Murray Sakibara was like, you're so tiny and light. And he's like, fine, I'll make you foul me. And I honestly thought for a hot second that they would use that strategy to beat Murray Sakibara. They're going to make him foul out, but he says that it's not going to work but that one time. And so that line from Kuroko where he says, just because you're big doesn't mean you're invincible. And I was like, because that's kind of the thing. Murray Sakibara, I feel like he is kind of insecure about his body and his size. And so he's convinced himself that, well, in basketball, it'll make me invincible. I'm like bulletproof. Nobody's going to bother me because I'm so big. And Kuroko's like, yeah, in the end, that's great, but that's not going to guarantee a win for you. We're going to beat you and show you up. I liked them switching the marks and it allowed Kuroko's misdirection to work a lot better when they switched the marks between people. That's pretty complicated. That is a complicated task to switch marks because you have to know who you're going to and what, and you have to be paying attention to know who is the opponent marking, who are they not marking, and unless you call it out or have some kind of code, you're not going to know. So you've got to be pretty diligent about it. But Murray Sakibara, him getting mad, him kicking the bench out of frustration, and Araki smacking it with a bamboo sword. That was great. She's like, don't take your anger out on objects. I love it. I love that the referees, no one questions her using the bamboo sword. They're just like, let her go. It's fantastic. And then Kagami saying he's going to take on Teppei's role. Because Teppei gets so discouraged in that moment. He's like, I can't protect them like I've wanted to. He's like, I've been working all this time, sitting in this game, and I still can't do it. And it's like, And so Kagami's like, no, I'm going to take your place. I'm going to do it. Because you've made us get here so far. And Teppei crying because not only is his team reliable, but they're able to carry on his wishes and do his will without him being there. And I feel like Teppei in that moment, he's so relieved. He's like, I can count on you guys. And you have faith in me too. And I loved Hugo's expression in this episode set because half the time he's looking at Teppei like, really? You're questioning this now? And the other half was him being like, let's kick some ass. Like Teppei and Hugo, they were great this set. I loved it. But yeah, he cries because he can rely upon them for support. And Kuroko's like, hey, we still got a long way to go, but let's get in a circle. Let's sing Kumbaya and get together and huddle and go fight and win. He's like, basketball is not fair, but you don't have to do it alone. I love that. I love Kuroko being like, yeah, this game may not be a fair sport, but that's why we're not doing it by ourselves. We're a team. And they do the big cheesy, a team isn't just people supporting each other. It's the team supporting each other. It's like, we're just not supporting our team. Our team is supporting us. It's like, yes, all the Hallmark cheese. I love it. So yeah. So we have episode 24, aka episode 49. There's 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and it's 47-43. I wish that shot by Azuki had made it. That would have changed a lot of things, but I am glad that they at least acknowledge in this series that there are going to be some times where the shot doesn't make it, even if it goes in. That's nice. I like that. And so Kagami, he keeps trying to get in the zone, but Almine notes that you can't force it. And so I feel like we have this unreliable narrator, right? Unreliable narration that is going to carry over into season 3. Because both Kisei and Almine are like, oh, Murray Sakibara could never get in the zone. Himuro could never get in the zone. I'm like, maybe not Himuro, but I'm like, you guys were proven wrong by Murray Sakibara, so can we trust you anymore? I feel like we can't. I feel like from this point on, there's going to be a lot of unreliable narrators and lots of getting proven wrong throughout this series, right? But I do agree. I mean, it's like you can't force to go into the zone, which is a nice, good bit of world building. You can't force it. It just has to happen naturally. I will say, I feel like in episodes 47 and 48, there were some wonky animation bits. Like some of the animations seemed kind of wonky, but then episodes 49 and 50, it's like they just sank all the budget into Murray Sakibara's hair. And Almine in the zone, or Kagami in the zone. They soaked all the money into that, or sank all the money into it. But yeah, Kagami, he keeps trying to do something that you can't force. Himuro notes it and takes advantage of it. Kagami thinks he's figured out the Mirage shot, but Himuro, he's like, well, I know I'll be able to tell if you think you figured it out and I can fake it. So you've not really figured anything out. And then Kisei shows up to the game. I like it. So we've established, I'm pretty sure that our quarterfinalists, our other quarterfinalists are Akashi's team, Midorima's team, Kisei's team, and now in the semifinals is Kuroko and Kagami. Now, I think that in the semifinals, Kisei's team is going to face them. I think they're going to win their game, and it's going to be versus Kisei, which I'm really excited about. We haven't had a rematch against Kisei's team. I'm excited about it. But I think that, yeah, Akashi's team is going to beat Midorima's, which is going to be, I said this in the last reaction, I feel like that's going to be the setup to show how strong Akashi is by Midorima's team getting beaten by them. We'll talk about Akashi here in a little bit. But yeah. So Kisei is like, I want to face Kuroko for the semifinals. So Kisei gets full marks for being MVP Seirin supporter until the end. I love that he realized what Kagami was doing. And he's like, dude, you can't force this. And when he tells Kagami, he's like, hey, I remember a guy that could beat me out of just, being himself and not trying to force anything and just naturally letting the talent flow. And it takes Kagami a moment, but the light bulb comes on and it gets confirmed by Kuroko. And he's like, have you ever been in the zone, Kuroko? And Kuroko's like, well, no. I figure Kisei talks about him not understanding the zone. So Kisei might go into the zone in this semifinal game. I fully expect it. I think Kuroko is going to go into the zone. Midorima may go into the zone, but I feel like Akashi, he's going to be like auto zone. Oh my god, if he I'm going to do it right now. If Akashi we find out, I don't want to know if this is going to happen or not. I want to be surprised. But I swear, if Akashi is able to automatically go into the zone, I'm going to take the US commercial for AutoZone and do some kind of like TikTok edit or something of Akashi being like, get in the zone, AutoZone, and do that with Akashi. I swear I will do it because I will laugh my ass off if that's the case. But yeah, so I feel like that's going to happen. And Kuroko's like, well, I don't know much about this zone you're talking about, Kagami, but it seems like it's not easy to get into. And that the light bulb goes ding, and Kagami goes, that's why I'm dating you, buddy, oh pal, because he realizes that you can't force it. He's just got to be natural. And so I like that Kasamatsu takes notes that Teppei wasn't on the court. Kasamatsu's like, where's Teppei? Like all of the uncrowned kings, like all their other followers are like, what about him? What's happening with him? Also, like the right of prominence or something, the move that he has, that is the right of postponement. That is like such a kingly phrase for his ability. Alex is worried about Kagami, and then Kagami gets in the zone and her worries are relieved, right? And so as long as Kagami is himself, like Kisei advised, he can get in the zone and everything's fine. I like that Almine and Kagami are like the easiest to get in the zone because they're so like instinctual and emotional characters, right? Even though Almine doesn't want to admit it. So they're down by 4 with 2 minutes and 59 seconds left. Kisei and Almine say that Murray Sakibara can't get in the zone because he doesn't love basketball. And I was like, he does love basketball, and he starts to get in the zone. That was honestly the scariest part of this whole set, was Murray Sakibara about to be in the zone. I was like, if he goes full on into it, we're screwed, right? Because Kagami was about to fall out of the zone. So we're going to put on here, there is going to be, I'm sure, Murray Sakibara at some point is going to show us himself in the zone. I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how, but it's going to happen. So they would not tease us with that only to have it fall flat. So it's going to happen at some point. Maybe like, I don't know what the last game is about. I don't want to know, so please don't spoil me. But I'm just going to take a guess and say that maybe, what if the last game was like a big scrimmage between all of them? Between all the Generation Miracle players? What if it was like a scrimmage where they faced off 3-on-3 and it was like Kagami versus Almine and then Murray Sakibara versus Akashi and then like Kisei versus Midorima and Kuroko is just a referee. I don't know! I don't know how that's gonna work, but I feel like I personally thought the last game was gonna be like the final match of the game. But I don't know. I don't know what we're going to get with that. I don't want to know. We'll find out when we get to it. But they wouldn't just preview Murray Sakibara getting in the zone without showing us that in full. So it's going to happen at some point. Maybe the last game is like, what if they had like Junior Olympics or something? Like in Haikyuu, they had like Junior Olympics and Kagami and something like, it was like an all-star team and they all went up and faced like they were representing Japan. What if they did that? That would be kind of cool. And the last game is like, the Generation Miracles and Kagami like representing Japan against some like crazy team like from America or something. That would be really cool. And then we could get to see Murray Sakibara in the zone. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. But I feel like they just teased it with these episodes. They just teased it. And so they also say we finally get the realization about Hamuro that we've kind of had all along. That Hamuro has these insecurities. He's jealous of Kagami. He wants Kagami to take him seriously, but Himuro is he's not a prodigy. He's just a guy that worked really hard and is really good. But Almine's like, he can't get into the zone because he'll never be on our level. And that's kind of sad. I felt bad for Himuro in episode 4950 because I was like, man, that means that he's just never going to get... I honestly, there's a part of me that was kind of sad at that moment because I had wanted Murasaki Bara to get in the zone and face Kagami, and I had wanted to see maybe Himuro. I thought maybe Himuro would get in the zone, but Murasaki Bara wouldn't, and that would be a thing. So I was, on the one hand, a little disappointed we didn't get that. But then on the other hand, I kind of like it because it's not making everybody OP. And for Yosen to still be a threat, for them to still be a threat with Kagami in the zone says a lot. Because yeah, when it was Kagami and Almine in the zone, it was really just between the two of them. But here, the fact that Kagami was in the zone and he still nearly got taken down by Murasaki Bara, that's saying something. And so that's kind of impressive. But in any case, that scene with Riko and Teppei back in the locker room, like, I felt like I was watching Bungo Stray Dogs for a second, like Yasano was healing them or something. I was like, what is this? But but I liked that it was some kind of crazy physical therapy to get Teppei back on the court. And my OT3 vibes of Teppei, Hyuga, and Riko were very satisfied, this episode said. Not only by Hyuga helping Teppei out in that one assist, but also by Riko, him being like, stay a little bit longer. And she's like, what? No. And he's like, even if it's a placebo, you give me strength. And I'm like, okay, Teppei. I feel like she's moved on from Teppei, but it's really cute. And she stays there like, okay. My OT3, right? And so yeah, Kagami's in the zone. They're down by 4 with 2 minutes left. Kisa and Almine, they talk about how he can't get in the zone. Himuro is no prodigy. He can't either. And so... the Generation of Miracles. I want to talk about this. I said I'd bring back Akashi in this. So let's talk about this with episode 49. Almine and then they talk about the zone, right? And that Murasaki Bara's not been able to get into the zone because he doesn't love basketball. So let's talk about this zone here. Okay? So the zone, right? As far as we know, up until this point in the season, nobody's been able to get into it except Almine. But Almine can only get into it when he's challenged by a worthy rival, which is Kagami. All right, so there's that. Murasaki Bara, he can only get into it through his love of the game, which he only gets into it from Himuro, right? Kisei, we don't believe has gotten into the zone yet. Midorima, we don't believe has gotten into the zone yet. Kuroko, we don't believe has gotten into the zone yet. And my theory is that Akashi can do it automatically. That's my theory. My theory is that Akashi is going to be able to instantly get into the zone whenever he wants to because he's a silver spoon boy and just can't lose, right? So my question would be, up until this point, if Akashi knows about the zone, I think he does, then why the things that were happening with Almine and Murasaki Bara before Murasaki Bara joined the team and Himuro got there and before Kagami got there, the things that they were doing on the team with Akashi were kind of counterintuitive, counterproductive to them getting into the zone because Akashi kept Almine in this state of despair by wiping out their opponents. So Almine wasn't going to get into the zone because he was not facing it, because he was just sinking further into his despair, right? Murasaki Bara was just, I feel like Akashi has had a hand in Murasaki Bara not loving basketball, just a theory. So then, of course, he wouldn't go in the zone either. And none of these others know about the zone, but I think Akashi knows about the zone. So what's the deal? It almost seems like by being on the team of the Generation of Miracles with Akashi, everyone but Akashi was being kept in the dark and away from going into the zone. Why would that be? My theory is that Akashi doesn't want them to get in the zone. Akashi wants to be on top. And my theory is at this point in the series, and I could be totally wrong, and if I'm wrong, let me find out in season 3. But I don't want any of this confirmed or deconfirmed or corrected, but just hear me out. My theory is that Akashi, I feel like he's threatened and afraid of the Generation of Miracles and them possibly beating them. That's why he didn't want Murasaki Bara and Aomine playing in those games that they all sat out. He asked them not to play. Because I think Akashi is scared of his teammates. I think he's afraid that he will lose against them. And so he's just, I feel like he's doing every precaution to not let that happen. Right? He's still strong. I'm not saying he's not strong. I think he's going to be freakishly strong. But I think he does have a fear of his teammates being better than him. And he just can't stand that idea. Right? I also think that Akashi and what that eye does, because yeah, I've noticed in several things that there's a time where his eye is not the same color as the other eye, and there's a time where they are. There's separation. So I think that his eye lets him know the abilities of others. I think it's like an all-seeing eye, kind of like Momoe's ability where she can like instantly gather intel. I think his eye is like an all-seeing, like omnipotent, like a third eye, and he can see when players have abilities, what they are and what they can do. That's what I think. Because every time we've seen him at a game, he's had that eye color like changed. So I think he's been watching other players and like recording their moves, recording their abilities. So, and he's a shogi player, so he's a strategist. So he's recording all their abilities, kind of like what Momoe does, so he can strategize against them. That's what I think his ability is. Maybe he can sense weaknesses. I don't know. But I feel like that's what his eye is doing. He's trying to like gather all the intel he can to beat his opponents. But yeah, I don't know what Akashi's end goal is. Like, what's their promise? What's the point? What's the deal? I don't know. I feel like he's going to be the antithesis of Kuroko, but we've not got there yet. So, and I feel like, we'll talk about the end cards. I feel like Kuroko wants Akashi to become a friend, but Akashi's being a baka and doesn't want to do it. So, we'll touch on that. I feel like Kuroko wants Akashi to open up and become friends, because we'll talk about the end cards. But yeah, that's just a theory. Just a theory. We'll find out next season, because obviously, again, talking about the end cards, we're going to see it happen. So yeah, Himuro is jealous that he's not good enough, to compete with Kagami and the others, and that even when holding back, he wasn't good enough to beat him. And I love when Himuro breaks down and cries, and he's like, I desperately wanted that power that you have, and you're just going to quit. Because yeah, Murasaki Bara quitting, being like, I don't see the point in playing anymore. That's what was amazing me. He was like, well, we can't lose if I just quit. And the team's like, why? You know? That's the thing. And again, it's polar opposite of Aomine. Aomine quits because nobody can beat him. Murasaki quits the moment he's losing. So I'm like, dude, I'm glad that Himuro like punched him in the face and was like, how dare you quit when there's those of us still trying to hold on. And he has even more conviction of playing than Teppei does. And that's what gets Murasaki Bara, where he's like, I hate people like you the most, and you're like the most frustrating. But the thing of it is, I don't think he actually hates Teppei and actually hates Himuro. I think he's just jealous that they can be so open about their love of the sport despite losing. And he's such a sore loser that he does not know how to do that. Murasaki Bara is like, I don't know how to lose gracefully and keep going like you all do. What the hell? Like, how do you do this? Like, don't you feel like giving up? I feel like giving up when that's the case. I tried to now. He's like, but damn it, how do you all manage to do that? And I feel like losing this game, Murasaki Bara is going to join the Kuroko's Club of the Defeated, the Generation of the Defeated, and become a better player because of it. And become more in tune with Himuro, you know. And so I love that he asked for the hair tie at the end of episode 49, and Kuroko's like, nope, things are about to get harder because now he's serious. And I was like, we have one episode left, y'all. What are we doing? So yeah, we have one episode left, and he is about to quit, and Kagami punches him, or Himuro punches him. You're making me crazy with rage. And then he shows up. He has no right to look as good as he does, Murasaki Bara. He has no right to look as good as he does with the hair tie. No right. No right at all, right? No way. So while I'm thinking about it, we're about to talk about episode 50, but while I'm thinking about it, and I realize this is like the most scattered discussion ever, but I was thinking about the 7 deadly sins, right? I'm going to put this up here. We have sloth, we have lust, We have pride. We have wrath. We have envy. That's 5. We have gluttony. We have gluttony, envy, lust, pride. What is the other one? Sloth, lust, pride. Excuse me. I'll think of the 7th one. Oh yes, pride, sloth, lust, wrath, envy. There's a 7th one. What's the 7 deadly sins? What's the 7? Oh, hold on. I'm gonna look this up real quick. I feel bad not knowing it. 7 sins. The 7 deadly sins. Greed. That was it. Greed. Okay. I was like, I know there's another one, but it's greed. Okay. So, honestly, if we're talking about, I originally last season think that I thought Murasaki Bara was gluttony because he ate all the time, but I don't think that's the case anymore. I'm going to change it up. I said at the end of every season I would come back to our 7 deadly sins and see if they changed it a little bit. I kind of think, honestly, that sloth is Almine. I think sloth is Almine, oddly enough, because he doesn't want to do the work. He's so good. I think sloth is Almine. He doesn't want to put forth the effort. I don't think gluttony is Murasaki Bara anymore. I honestly think that it might be, if we're talking, I think it might honestly be envy. Murasaki Bara, I think, is envy. Because he wishes he could openly love the sport as much as Tepe and Himuro do. So I think he's kind of envious of that. He's like, how can you guys love this sport when it's so cruel? Like, isn't that unfair? So yeah, I think that's the case. So then it comes down to like gluttony and greed, lust and pride and wrath. And we'll save those for after episode 50. But Almine and Murasaki Bara, I think, to me, are more sloth and envy than anything. So we'll touch base on that at the end of this discussion. But yeah, so they're all worried about Kagami like holding out until the end. And then we didn't get an OP this round. We did not get an OP, y'all. We didn't get an ED either. This episode was just, episode 50 was great. It was like no OP, no ED. Murasaki Bara looks great with his hair up. Kuroko looks fierce, being like, I'm not going to back down. And they just keep going. And Himuro's like, you're amazing, but I'm going to keep fighting you. And I love that even Araki is like, this is not normal. The level that Kagami and them are playing is not normal for high school kids. They're at their limits, right? And Almine is just having the time of his life. He's like, Murasaki Bara is actually giving a damn. It's great. Kisei is like, well, it's about damn time that you're caring. And Kaguya is like, oh my God. Or Hyuga's like, this is too much. I love the pass of Itsuki to Kuroko, and then Kuroko like flings it up. It almost felt like a freeform shot like Almine does, and then Kagami slam dunks it. It was, that was really good. But yeah, so the game keeps going on, and there is one thing here that like, Almine says, without a defensive trump card on either team, this is going to get dangerous and every shot counts. And that is very much true. It's funny. I like the irony that Almine points out where he's like, you know, it's funny we start out this game with Yosen seemingly depending upon Murasaki Bara, but now Seirin is depending upon Kagami and Murasaki Bara is being the one playing with the team. So it's kind of cool to see that sort of flipped. It's almost like there's a side effect of the zone. But Himuro just driving forward the best that he can, giving it to Murasaki Bara for him to make it, and Murasaki Bara actually playing with the team. It's awesome. And then, man, the moment that Tepe came back, Hyuga's face, the gleam in Hyuga's eye, like how happy he looked. He was like, let's have some fun. Like that is a ship, y'all. Like the fact that Hyuga was getting so excited about him being back, and they're like, seriously? And I love that Murasaki Bara was like, how many times do I have to crush you? And Tepe's like, as long as you need. I was like, it's so good. I love it. He's like, the game isn't over. 4 points with 50 seconds remaining. That is a terrifying amount of time. I was the whole time being like, are they really going to win? And especially when you start seeing Murasaki Bara go in the zone, I'm like, are they really going to win? I don't know. And then, yeah. And then that whole thing with the trick shot with Teppei faking him out, that was wonderful. And then Kagami going up, everything. And it's down to 71 to 72 with 20 seconds left. And that's when Murasaki Bara starts to go in the zone. Terrifying, y'all. Terrifying. And Amine and Momoy are like the harbingers of doom. They're like, well, if they make the shot, if they're able to do it. I'm like, silence, stop jinxing it. And so, yeah, we get down. I love the tornado spin that Murasaki Bara does. The tornado spin. It was like he looked like a burrito spinning in a tornado. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? What? I was like, oh my God, I can't. That move, I'm glad Kagami just stops it. And God, the levels we go to in this game for Kagami to like completely push the ball away from Murasaki Bara, insanity. Insanity, y'all. I could not believe it. But yeah, he's like, everybody's on their last legs. They're trying their hardest. And then Himuro's like, it's your job to make the shot. And then Kagami's like, he's overpowering me. It's not good. And then Teppei coming up from behind to be like, you're not alone. And then them striking that ball back. Oh my God. And then I was like, well, what are we going to do with this? And then, yeah, it's just like Murasaki Bara starts to get in the zone. He starts to take the ball back. And Himuro's like, what is happening? And then at that point, his knees stop. And he can't do anymore. He's physically at his limit. And the thing that's so beautiful about this is that, Murasaki Bara, he wants to keep going. He doesn't want to give up. He wants to win. He wants to try. But two, the fact that as soon as Murasaki Bara took off, in the zone, and everybody kind of knows it at this point, Kuroko still chases after him. Because Kuroko doesn't give up. And Kuroko is fearless. He is not afraid to face somebody in the zone, even when he knows the chances of him winning are nigh to 0. He's like, I'm still going to go after him. And it just happened to be when his knees gave out and he was low enough to where Kuroko could smack the ball out of his hand. I was like, oh my God. Like that, the faith in our boy Kuroko, he does not give up. And I love that Kagami is smiling like the whole time. Kagami's like, hell yes. He's like, that's my boyfriend. Show him what you got. And Kuroko's like, the upperclassmen, everybody, I'm not letting their hard work go in vain. It's over now. I'm like, the fact that Kuroko shut out a generation of miracles, the fact that Kuroko shut out Murasaki Bara, the shortest player and the tallest player, which I don't know, is Akashi shorter than Kuroko? I don't know. But I'm like, the shortest versus the tallest player, and he shuts him out. And it's our boy Kuroko just knocking the ball out of his hands. I love that. That is just like, I never would have imagined it would end this way. I thought that this final episode would be a real battle between Kagami and Himuro. I thought that Teppei was going to get onto Murasaki Bara and guard him. I thought it was going to be Himuro versus Kagami, and I thought Kagami was going to win, but I didn't think that it would go the way that it did. And so I do like the Toho game still better because I think the stakes with Kuroko and Kagami were higher, but I love this game because it did not go the way I expected it to. I had all these predictions of matchups and who would face who, and this game took it in so many different directions than I could have ever anticipated that I really, really enjoyed it because of that. I thought that it was wonderful. And then, yeah, and Kagami just being like, that's my boy, and Hyuga being like, we did it, and Murasaki Bara being frustrated. And Kisei knew that Kuroko was going to go after him. I love that smile as they're giving him like all of the, as Hyuga and them have him in the headlock and they're giving him the ruffled hair. Like that little smile that Kuroko has. It's so cute. And he's just, it's like they're a team and they love Kuroko. He never gives up. God, I love that. Like the smile on his face. And I love the idea that Kuroko's found a team that loves him as a player, not as a support. they say earlier on in the episode, they're like, it's fine. We've got the light and the shadow of Seirin. But they don't establish who's who, right? So I think that both Kuroko can be the light and he can be the shadow. Same as Kagami. I'm like, yes. I love that Kuroko has gone from playing on the Generation of Miracles middle school team where he was just there to make the other players stand out and be an assist to actually playing and getting to be his own person and be a teammate that's just as reliable as the others and can stand on his own 2 feet. It's so good. It's so good. I love it so much. I love it so much. And just, that's so cute. And then everybody getting with him, it's so cute. So yeah, then the game's over. I like that Okamura comes up to shake Hyuga's hand, like everyone's there, and then Himuro's like, well, I'm not calling you my brother anymore. And Kagami's like, I'm not either. And Kuroko's over on the sidelines being like, you gonna take that sitting down, Kagami? You know you're not sincere about that. And then Murasaki Bara getting confronted by Teppei, being like, let's play again. And he's like, why? I'm quitting. He's like, I'm not playing anymore. And I really don't think, I'm glad Kuroko says he doesn't believe him. He's like, no, he's not quitting. He's just being a tsundere and saying that. I like that sincere look. Kuroko has a really cool, sincere look. And I like that you have the towel over Murasaki Bara's head so that when Himuro's like, are you really quitting? He's like, yes, I don't want to play anymore. And, oh, sorry, Hut. And he's like, well, I know you're lying, right? He's like, it doesn't seem that way to me. They're a ship. I'm like, Himuro and Murasaki Bara are totally a ship. I'm here for it. And then you see like little teardrops fall on his face. It's so cute. Like his little sad face. That part there made me like Murasaki Bara. The part where we find out that no, he does love the game. He's not quitting. He's trying to be a tsundere, but he's really a softie that likes the game at heart. I'm like, I don't like him when he's a bully. That knocks him down a peg for me, but I do like when he's like that. I'm like, that's really cute. I'm like, okay. And everybody on the team kind of gets it. They're like, oh, come on, Murasaki Bara. We're going to play again next time. We'll get him. That's really sweet. I like it. And so, of course, Amine Momoy, he's like, he's been able to enter the zone. You know what that means. That means we can all enter the zone. If Murasaki Bara can enter it and he loves the game, that means he's not giving up. That means he's going to come back and he's going to be even harder to face in the future, which is exciting. And so, yeah, then of course we see Midorima by himself and he looks over. There's this weird tension between Midorima and Akashi, which is why I'm like, I guess you guys are facing each other next for the quarterfinal. I guess Midorima's facing Akashi's team, but there's this like weird sexual tension in that moment where Midorima like stares at him and Akashi stares back. Like, ever since the OVA and stuff, I'm like, is there like an Akashi Midorima ship out there? Because, okay, it's like they have the watermelon colors going, the like fuchsia and the green. I'm like, okay. I feel like personality-wise, Midorima and Akashi would get along because they both kind of have that like kind of snobby air to them. And Midorima did give his scissors to Akashi to cut his hair, so I don't know. There was a tension there, and you could cut it with a knife. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about Midorima facing them. Yeah, and Akashi with his cat eyes, he just looks so freaky. No. So if we go back to the 7 Deadly Sins, I think, honestly, that if we're talking about greed and lust and pride and wrath, that's a really good question. I feel like Midorima is pride, because Midorima is very proud about his regimen, his routine. He's very proud about the work that he's put in. He's proud about how much he knows about the sport. I feel like he's pride. I feel like Kagami is lust. And not like lust in a sexual way, but like he lusts after the game. He lusts after the game and teamwork. And he loves stuff so much. He loves basketball more than anything. So he's like the epitome of it, him and Amine. But he's like lust. And I feel like greed is Kuroko. Because Kuroko's gotten a little greedy lately, right? Kuroko wants to be friends with everybody. He wants all the friends. He wants to be both the guy on defense with the misdirection and the guy that can shoot the ball. So I feel like Kuroko's getting a little greedy, right? I feel like gluttony is Kisei. because he copies everybody. So he's like eating up all their moves. I feel like he's Gluttony. I feel like Wrath is Akashi. I feel like maybe Akashi hates everything or hates the fact that he has to win. Maybe, who knows? So, I don't know. Akashi and Kisei I could see moving around, but we'll see. But that is a little bit different than season 1. So, once I have a better idea about Akashi in the next season, I'll be able to go back to this in better detail. But that's where I'm at right now. Almine's Sloth, Kagami's Lust, Midorima's Pride, Wrath is Akashi, Envy's Murasakibara, Kisei's Gluttony, and Kuroko's Greed. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But God, that smug smile and those cat eyes. Ugh. Nope. And then everybody's getting ready for the game. I like Takao shows up. Midorima's like, oh, why are you here? And he has the little tower, the Tokyo Tower as his lucky item. Of course. And then we have, of course we have Akashi going back to his team. That one guy on the left has like dark straight hair. He looks like somebody that was on Teiko's team from before. We'll see. And then we see some guy, but is that the same color as Akashi's team? Is that the same color jacket? It's not. So there's some guy with like cornrows that, who be him? Some mysterious player that we're going to find out in season 3. And so yeah, Kuroko's mad at Kagami because Kagami wasn't genuine. He's like, you said that you didn't want to be brothers with Muro, but we both know that's a lie. So you need to go give your ring back to him. Go talk to him. I am glad that Himuro makes up with Alex. I am glad about that. I'm glad he makes up to her. And that look he gives her at the end where he tells her that he's sorry. And she's like, you know, athletes get worked up for games. It's fine. You played a good game. It's okay. She's like, it was worth the trip to see you. And I love that he kind of gives her like a little smile, Himuro does. And then he just kind of softens there. So yeah, that was definitely a mother-son look, right? Yeah. I'm like, I like that dynamic between the two of them. I hope we see more with Alex. So, and then we cut back to Kuroko telling Kagami, he's like, I can't deny how you felt, but is it really so difficult to continue to be brothers and rivals? Kuroko's like, don't make this be BS. Kuroko's like, I've watched Tsurune. I play a voice in it. He's like, I play a voice in that series, so you guys can be both brothers and rivals. Quit being bakas and go make up. Right? I like that it's like when Almine and Kuroko were able to make up and Kagami's like, go. Now Kuroko's like, okay, you two go make up. Go. And so, I'm sad we don't get to see it though. That we just see him run off, right? We just see him run off. And Kuroko kind of smiles at the end being like, good. But I'm hoping in season 3 we get to see it. I'm hoping in season 3 we get to see Himuro and Kagami make up. I want to see that. And luckily, I don't have to wait too long for that to happen. So, I do want to talk briefly. I do want to talk about the end cards as well as the end credit scene. The end credit scene and the end cards are a lot of fun. The end credit scene, if we go look at it, the very first part, the first 2 episodes, I had to take multiple screenshots because they were so long that it's like they had more scene than they had panel space, right? So in the first one, we have Murasakibara. Teppei is helping Murasakibara paint, and he's like, you can tell he's just like, I don't want to do this. And Teppei's giving him advice, which Murasakibara kind of hates. So are we making an OT3 out of Himuro, Murasakibara, and Teppei? Maybe. I like that Kuroko has number 2 and he's showing him to Sakurai to be like, look, you guys can be friends. See, he doesn't hate you. And then the scene where what's interesting is that you see like Alex going towards Momoe and Riko to hug and kiss both of them. Riko's been kissed once, so she's like, oh, hell no, not again. And then the funny thing is like, Almine looks back. Almine is looking back, and it seems like he is like looking. Here's the thing, Midorima and Almine are both looking at Momoe and Riko about to be kissed by Alex. And then Kasamatsu and Hyuga are just having fun painting together, not thinking anything about it. The one guy on Kisei's team that likes girls is like, this is my ultimate fantasy. Almine's reaction is, this is my ultimate fantasy. Almine's got the blush like, oh my God. these two girls are about to make out. I can get my phone out and take a picture of this. That's what his reaction looks like. Whereas Midorma's reaction is like, he doesn't want to admit that he likes this scene, but he's like, how inappropriate! Stop! You know, and Mitobe's like, whoa, it's okay. Riko knows what she's doing. And Kagami's like, Alex, no! It's a great scene. I love that Almine is like, is this my fantasy? Almine has the butterfly meme being like, are these two girls kissing my fantasy? And one of them's Momoy. It's a great. And then we have the next end credit scene where we see like the one pineapple guy. He is selling all his products. He is like the pineapple guy on Shutoku. And I know y'all have told me his name, but I've forgotten it already. He's like selling them more pineapple juice. And they're like, oh, gee, thanks. I like that Murasaki Bara is pointing back at Teppei being like, can you take him away? He's trying to influence the way that I'm painting. Right? As Kogane's like, here's some pineapple juice, sir. Almine has taken Sakurai's bento box and is eating out of it. And Almine is a dog man. He loves number 2, which is super cute. And meanwhile, we have Sakurai is actually looking over. Sakurai is looking over to Hyuga, who's mad that he has number 2 for reasons. Takao is helping Midorma paint. Midorma's moved on. Alex has Kagami up against the wall, and Kagami's like, big sis, get out of the way. And Himuro's like, big sis, like, come on, mom, stop. Kisei is helping Kuroko figure out the mural. I love that Almine's drawing is a stick figure with boobs. Our boy Almine, he's got only 2 things on his mind at any given time. It's great. But yeah, so then we have we have a group shot of them all together. Midorma's like, I'm done. Let's get ready. Let's finish taking these pictures. Kisei's like, take the picture. Takao's like, oh, stop, Midorma. And then Izuki and the one guy from Kisei's team have become friends. Murasaki Bara and Himuro are, being a ship together. Kogane and Mitobe are together, of course. Hyuga is helping Sakurai and Kasumatsu set up the camera. Alex is like, we've become friends. Almine is too distracted by number 2. It's adorable. And Kagami's helping to set up the camera with Kuroko. And then here's the thing. It's going to all come out in the wash what it is at the end card. So with the end cards, these are probably one of my favorite set of end cards. Obviously, we have Kagami grabbing the necklace from Himuro. Like, he still wants to hold on to them being brothers. I love that end card. It's so good. That pose is constantly, it's like the shipping bench. Although I do not ship Himuro and Kagami, it's like the shipping bench, basically. I freaking love the like little sleepover in the next one for episode 48 with Murasaki Bara and Kuroko. Like, they can be friends off the court, right? And you see Almine's leg there in the corner, and then you see Kisei put another pillow, like wanting to instigate a pillow fight. But you have Murasaki Bara with all the snacks. Like, I want Murasaki Bara and Kuroko to be friends. I don't ship them, but I want them to be friends, right? And then also, I don't ship Kisei and Kagami, but I want them to be friends. So I like the end card for episode 49 where they're like at a video game playing like with the guns where it's like a shooting game. I like that. That's really cute. But the end card for episode 50 is maybe one of my favorite end cards, right? And here's the thing. I wondered when Kuroko was, when he was taking a photo in that last end credit scene, I'm like, is he sending it to Akashi? Is he? Mm-hmm. And so what we end up getting is this beautiful mural that says, let's play basketball. Let's play. And we have Kisei put down, let's have fun. Almine has the stick figure with boobs. Kagami has like the little dog, right? And then we have Midorma did the little lucky item. And then we have obviously Takao put Shuppei in. Isn't that Midorma's name is Shuppei? He put his name above it. Mm-hmm. And then I like that we also have, they basically drew, did they draw Kagami with the ball going up towards the basket? Maybe. And then Seirine and graffiti. And then Yosen and the little teddy bear by Teppei. I like that. But they sent it to Akashi. And Akashi just sent back the letter A. Which I'm assuming stands for his name. But what the heck, man? What the heck? So obviously Rakuten is going to be the team to beat in the next one. So I think that we're going to have, obviously, Kisei's team versus Kuroko and Kagami. They're going to win. They're going to win because they're going to face Akashi's team at the end. That's what this series is leading towards. We're going to face Akashi's team. The game against Kisei might be really interesting, though. That might be curious. But yeah, and then, or maybe not. Maybe not. That one guy at the very end that had the cornrows that we only saw the back of his head. What if he's for the team that's facing Kisei and they beat Kisei's team? It would kind of suck because that makes Kisei's team kind of the weakest of all of them. But I mean, the weakest in comparison to other Generation Miracles and our crew, but because they've lost so many games at this point, if that's the case. But maybe Kisei's team won't win. Maybe Kuroko and Kagami will have to face another team to get into the finals with Akashi. That would be interesting. I think Midorima's team is going to face Akashi's and they're going to lose. And it's going to be like a big thing. We're going to get some reveals about Akashi at that moment. Because we've not watched Akashi play at all. And I have purposefully ignored it in the OVAs because I wanted to wait until we officially saw it. So, But yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that we didn't get Murasaki Bara in the mode where he literally beat a team by 100 points before. Glad we didn't get that. Glad we're good. But these games were amazing. And I am really excited to dive into the extras now. So we've got a couple weeks of extras. I'm going to be next week looking at the special, the bloopers, and one of the audio dramas. Then the rest of the audio dramas for season 2. And then the character songs. And then we'll be starting season 3. Starting season 3. So, So we'll be starting season 3 right around the end of March. I'm pretty excited, but I like having a few weeks off after this set of episodes. Literally need some time for my brain to go whoa, and then start season 3 fresh. So I'm excited to get to the extras. I hope you all are too, but I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. I hope you all enjoyed this reaction and this literally hour and 30-minute discussion, but it was worth it for these episodes, right? So yeah. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Kuroko's basketball. Bye.